Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into this review. I don't have a quippy little line to put at the beginning, so just going to jump right into it, like I said. Several months ago, I saw a trailer, did a reaction review to a trailer for this movie called Bloodline with, oh gosh, what's the guy's name? I always forget his name. Sean William Scott or Sean Patrick Scott or Patrick. He's got a name that just does not stick in my head. It's really annoying. And it was probably right there in front of my face on the very first screen with if there were credits there. Anyway, whatever. That dude. When I watched the trailer, it reminded me a lot of Dexter, which was a show I really, really loved until it went just completely downhill. In fact, it was one of the few shows that, in my opinion, at least at the time that it was in its, prime, was actually better than the books. The books didn't feel like they fleshed out his character as much as the show did. So anyway, that's a bit of a tangent, but he reminded me of Dexter because it seemed like, well, I can't remember for sure, but I thought I got the impression that he was a serial killer, but he was like a vigilante type serial killer. I think that was the impression I got. If not, it was something I picked up at some point before I watched it, that I knew that he was more like a vigilante type. He wasn't just going out and killing people that had done nothing at all wrong. You know what I mean? But the movie diverges a little bit from Dexter in the fact that, if I remember correctly, Dexter only went after people that had killed someone, and he had to be completely sure about it first. So this dude's not quite that straight-laced, but the people he goes after, they are bad people. So, you kind of, it's this weird, well, if it says his name there, oh, Sean William Scott, that's his name. Okay. It's this weird territory that you're in where you understand why he's doing what he's doing, and there's a part of you, well, I mean, there's a part of me that kind of gets it, but at the same time, it's this gray area where the people that he's going after, they haven't killed anybody. They have done pretty bad things, and they're not good people, but they're not murderers. And so it's like, that's a really gray area there. And there might be some people that feel a little bit more hardline about it, like, well, they deserve it. And there's a part of me that's like, they were very bad people, but there's like this line to me that's been crossed by this character here. At any rate, you still find yourself, well, I mean, I did anyway, found myself liking him. He's a new father. It's quite, that scene right there, that was a cool shot. His wife was dealing with the baby. The baby was fussy, and the baby wasn't nursing good, and she was just exhausted, and he's tired, and he's a very good husband to her. He's very attentive. He's loving. He's a good father to the baby, and yet he's battling with this part of him that does these very bad things. And so he's keeping it secret from his wife. His mother comes, that's his mother. She comes to kind of lend a hand to, assist. And so it was an interesting film. It did not get the highest ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, or I think on Metacritic or IMDb, whatever. It kind of got, sort of so-so-ish or maybe less ratings. And I have to say, I kind of disagree with that. I felt like it was fairly decent for what it was. It wasn't anything super high budget. It was made well in the sense that the lighting looked okay, the audio sounded good, the editing looked pretty good, the cinematography was decent enough. It didn't look like a low budget type of film, even though I'm sure it was a fairly low budget film, because the cast in here, they're not like huge big name, A-lister type people. But anyway, this was not something that required a lot of, special effects type stuff, digital animation sort of thing to make it look like Avengers or something. Nothing like that. So the cost for this was probably pretty low. But I liked it okay. I don't necessarily feel like I want to see it again because it wasn't one of those types of films I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to watch this again and again and again and again. It wasn't like that. So I liked it, did not dislike it. I thought it was written fairly well. It's a pretty simple plot, and the title of it sort of kind of gives away what this is about in a sense. And as the movie goes on, you see, this was his mother when she was younger. You see details from his past and how they tie into what's going on with him in the present. And you see the relationship with his wife. And I don't want to say too much, but because I don't want to give away any sort of spoilers, because there were some twists in here. They weren't, earth-shattering twists or anything, but just little subtle twists that happen, little things that happen that you would think, that you would not think would be the case, like maybe little red herring sort of things that were dropped here and there. And then when things are revealed or when things happen, you're like, oh, okay, well, that's how it is. But it's not super surprising. Nothing that happened in here was super surprising. However, I still liked how everything came together. And I thought for a quiet little movie like this, I say quiet, it's violent, it's got a lot of blood and stuff, but quiet. And then it's just a little simple, low budget type film. I felt like it did a pretty decent job telling this story. And it's a story I wouldn't have minded listening to. I don't think it was based on a book or anything like that, but this is the type of thing that I would have certainly enjoyed listening to, or maybe even reading. I used to listen to more audiobooks in the past, but now since audiobooks are my work, I actually don't really feel like listening to audiobooks as much as I used to. So now I feel like I'm kind of getting back into actual reading more. And last night I started reading one of the fourth or fifth book in the Dexter series or something. So I'm like, oh, this is nice, actually physically reading. I have missed this sort of, but I don't know how long that's going to last, you guys. But mostly I just don't have time to listen to audiobooks because I have to work on them. So anyway, and I don't like to sit down and listen to them. I want to listen to audiobooks when I'm doing stuff, doing something else, being productive in some other way. But certainly I'm not productive sitting and reading, but at least that's the only thing I can do at the time. When I'm just listening to something, it's like I feel like I need to do something else. And that was a tangent, but that's the way it is with me. Anyway, having said all that, I like this film. If you like, I already indicated I liked it. I don't know how many times I'm going to repeat that, but if you like, stuff in this genre, you might appreciate this film. Don't go into it expecting that it's going to be as awesome as Dexter, because that would be kind of hard to beat, especially like its first 5 seasons. But it's pretty decent, fairly solid for what it is. Nothing, earth-shattering, like I said, when referring to spoilers, but it's not like this groundbreaking, earth-shattering type movie. It's not going to blow you away or anything like that, but I still appreciated it, like I said, for what it was. And I feel confident in saying that I liked it, and I would recommend you guys check it out at least once. He does a really good job in here. It was a little bit weird at first to get into or to get used to seeing him play a part like this, because I've really only been exposed to him, I believe, in comedic roles. He hasn't been completely typecast for me because he's not somebody that I've watched a whole lot. It's just anything I've seen him in, he's been kind of quirky and comedic, and he is a little bit that same way in here, but it's a little darker. Like he's a little sarcastic, very slightly sarcastic sometimes in some of the stuff he says. I think he did a fine job in here. I think everyone in here did a fine job. I recognize the woman who played his mother, but I don't know her name. Did she play in the Jeepers Creepers Was that her, one of the Jeepers Creepers movies? Anyway, whatever. The girl who played his wife, I felt like she did a pretty decent job. I saw some reviewer complaining about her performance or whatever, but I thought she did fairly well. You know, she was kind of like, she's exhausted. She's this tired mother. She's, you know, kind of stressed and you know, under the strain of, you know, the pressure that comes along with being a first-time parent and having a child that is not letting you sleep at all, that sort of thing. And I think she did fairly well. I really have no complaints at all about the acting in here. So anyway, okay, I can't think of anything else to add to this. If I do, and if I feel like it's pertinent, maybe I'll put it like in some text in the video or in the description box or something like that. So, okay, I'm wrapping this one up, you guys. Later.